Welcome back. In this session, we're going to look at further creating and controlling content. Because at the moment we have a cover, but what about the inside of our publication? We want a DPS over here, and we want a second DPS or double page spread. So with our cover finished, we're going to jump to page 2, and we can do that by double clicking on page 2, or we can just scroll down with our scroll bar
to page 2 and page 3.
Now you'll notice these two pages are next to each other because of course they are facing pages. And that's how we want our publication to look. Now I'm still in preview mode, so I'm just going to go back to normal mode so that we can see all our guidelines. So the first thing you want to do is to create the article title. Now in your files, I gave you in chapter 1 a Word document, and it contains the text that we will be using inside of this article, and here it is. So our first article would be 24 hours in Cape Town. So let's create a little header here. Create a new box, and we will type there 24 hours. Give it the impact font again. Make it nice and big. Remember my trick for making things bigger? I can always fit the frame to content and then use that shift control, hold it in, or command shift on a Mac. Now I can make it nice and big. Let's make another box, and we'll type here in Getter. And we can change the font again, and we can make it bigger.
Okay, that's it.
Let's make it 50 Good, so slightly stylized start to my article. I'm just going to move it in there slightly. So we didn't make the box all across the page because, you know, it needs to fit there. It's fine. You know, it's a design element. Then next up, we want to put 3 little images here at the top. So I can make a little image box, and to make 3 of the same size, just use a copy and paste, and we can drag them next to each other. And now we can place the images in there. But I want to show you a trick here. That's really cool. We can take the frame tool. Now I'm clicking and dragging a big box here, but I'm still holding in the mouse. Okay? I'm still holding it in, and I'm placing the right arrow 3 times on the keyboard, and it creates 3 boxes out of that one box. Very cool, nifty trick. I'll do it again. So I'm clicking, I'm holding in the mouse button, and while I'm still holding it in, I place the right arrow twice, and I drop it, and there's my frames. Okay, so whichever way you decide to do it, there you go. Now I could place 1 image at a time by using my file place, but there's another nice trick. You can do file place without anything selected. Go file place, and you choose the 3 images that you want to insert there, and we do this one, and the wine. So the hors d'oeuvres, the wine, and the cheese platter. Click open. Now look how cool that is. It gives me a loaded cursor that says there's 3 images currently to be placed, and I just click 1, 2, 3. Okay, they are blurred. Why? Because they're not fitting in the box. So we can go individually, right click, fitting, fit frame proportionately. Or now as a shortcut, we can just select all 3 of them simultaneously. Right click, fitting, fit frame proportionately. And now they fit nicely into those frames. Let's just give them a rounded corner just to round them off. So object, corner options like we did in the cover, and we'll say lock it. So all 4 the corners should be affected, and let's make it rounded. And there you go. You might want to move them just a little bit closer together because they are quite far from each other. And remember, you do have under your alignment panel, which is objects and layout align, you have the distribute spacing to make that space between them exactly the same. Great. Okay. You'll notice I'm leaving some white space. You know, white space is a great design element just to make your design breathe a bit. Okay, next up, we want to bring in our copy for our article. So remember, the Word document contains all the text, and we can select the text from here, and we can select everything in that article, maybe a bit of this next article as well, so that we have enough text for our example. And I'm just simply copying it, Control C, and I go back to InDesign. So you can copy from any type of a text document, wherever, you know, whether you're using Word or whether you're using a Mac, just copy that text. Now, instead of just creating a box which has some normal text in it, we want to create a paragraph text block. So we're dragging the box across the whole page up to the margin lines. Okay, there's the full box. But here's the trick. At the moment, if we just paste the text in, it will come in quite big because the preset in InDesign was 12 point size. We need to set the size first. So we'll set this to Arial, and we'll make it Arial regular. And I'm going to make the size 8.5 point size. And the leading is going to be 3 more than the point size. That's the rule. It's always 3 point sizes more than the font, and that's the space between the lines of text. Now we can paste text in there, and there's our body copy. Now, very, very important. If I want to select all the text in this block, at the moment, it's showing me some of the text, but remember that little red plus? They're showing me it's very small there, but there's the red plus, which means there's more text than what fits into this box. So if I want to select all the text, what am I going to do? I'm not going to drag over this text. I'm going to use that shortcut Control A or Command A on a Mac, which is for select all. Now we know, regardless of how long this story is and how many boxes it's going to fit, we have all that text selected. So now we want to do some edits on it. Maybe we decide, well, the font size should be smaller. We make it 8/11.
Looks better.
But we can now also do our paragraph controls. See the difference? I noticed, I mentioned this before. That's your character controls. This is the paragraph controls. And now we're working with paragraph text. So what options do we have here? Let's have a look. We can center align all the text in the box. We can right align it. We can justify the text, which is normally what you do. We can justify it to the center, or we can completely justify it, which doesn't look very professional. So let's keep it left justified. Then we have this second option here, which makes space on the left-hand side of your paragraph. The one below makes an indent for wherever there's a hard return in your copy. So the default for design, if you look at a book or a magazine, is always 5 millimeters. Okay, for each new paragraph. Now, I'm going to leave that there. Obviously, we won't have that for the first paragraph, and we won't have it for where we've got headings, but we'll fix that in a moment. This button leaves space on the right-hand side of your box. This one at the bottom of the sentences. This one leaves space between your paragraphs, and this one will leave space below the paragraphs. Okay, then we have an interesting one over here. It's a drop gap. So let's say the first character should go over 3 lines. We do a drop gap and the amount of characters for that drop gap. Now, we don't want to do to all of them. So with all the text selected, if we put a drop gap in, look what happens. That's not what we want. So we'll format them separately. So at the moment, no drop gap. Then we have bullets, if we're doing a bulleted list, and we have a numbered list. Then we have shading. Sometimes InDesign puts shading behind text. It's just, like a color behind the text. I try to keep that off. It doesn't look very good. And then a very important one, we've got the hyphenate option. So we don't normally hyphenate text. Okay, so we keep that off generally in copy. Now we know all our text is formatted correctly. And we go back to the very first one. We just click anywhere in this first paragraph. And we take that 5 millimeters out so that it starts nicely on the left-hand side. And we're also going to give it a drop gap of 3 characters. Or 3 lines. And there we go. If we use this option, then we could have made the whole first word a drop gap. But let's just do the I. Now, for our text grading, this is what makes InDesign really the best typesetting program. Remember that little plus we had? We want the text to flow from this page over to this column over here. So we click on the plus. You have to click right on the center of that plus. And it gives you a loaded cursor. It tells you there's more text that's still not placed. So we now drag the box to which we want to flow the text next. Can you see the text now flows from here over here? We can even tell it to now flow over here, and then to flow down here, and then to flow to the next page, as we wish. And if we want to see how they linked, we can go to View, we can go to Extras, and say Show Text Threads. There it shows you the order in which they linked. So it means if we delete this box, now the text flows directly from here over here. Okay, you need to practice that a lot because it is the most powerful thing, especially if you do your layouts. So just again, I clicked on the plus, get the loaded cursor, pull the next text box, and the text flows through there. And now obviously you'll go back and do proper formatting in here. So we could say, well, you know what? This is supposed to be a heading. So we take that 5 millimeter indent out. Maybe we leave a line before morning, and we go back to character controls and we make that text bold. And then they've got 9 a.m. over here, 10 a.m. That shouldn't have an indent because it doesn't really fit what I'm trying to do. And how about we just make these italic to make them stand out? Those are the times. So we go through our whole document and we do the formatting and select words that might have to be italic and so on and so on. So there's the afternoon. So again, we leave a space.
We take
5 millimeters out and we make this bold. So you can see, with your formatting of your article, you can spend a little bit of time here to make it look exactly the way you want to. Okay, so that's good. Now we want to put 4 images on the right hand side. So I could take the long boot, place an image, copy the box, paste it. I'm just choosing Control-C, Control-V, paste it, and there's the 4 boxes. Boom! Let's get clever. I don't know what the measurement would be, so they're fitting perfectly. So before I even pull the box, I'm going to do File Place and choose the 4 images I want to put in there. Let's choose some nice images here. Okay, so I just choose the 4, open, and it gives me the loaded cursor. Now watch carefully. I'm going to drag the box, and yours gonna jump out like that, but don't worry, just drag it down to the bottom. So from there, I'm holding in the mouse tool. Then I'm using the up arrow key 3 times. Look up, create a grid for those 4 images. And only now do I drop the mouse. And voila, they're still selected. Right click, fitting, fit frame proportion. Boom. How cool is that? I'll do it again. So we went file place, we selected our 4 images. Now we drag the box all the way to the bottom here. We use our up arrow 3 times to create the image grid and drop it. Now with them still selected, we right click, fitting, fit frame proportionately.
And there they are. That looks nice. Okay, so
That's a cool trick for you for image placement. Over on the left-hand side, we want to bring in a round image over here, but we want the text to run around the image. So we're going to use our frame tool and the ellipse frame and drag the box where the image needs to be. Right, you can see now it's a circle. And let's place an image in there. Going to use this one of the girl on line side. And of course we fit, right click, fitting, fit frame proportionate. Now with this circle, you can see that the text runs behind the circle. So we call the function text wrap, and text wrap makes space between the object so that it bumps out the text. So we need to put it not on the text, but on the image. You have the image selected, you go window,
text wrap.
and the text wrap panel appears. There's 5 modes in which you can apply text wrap. Either we run the text through the shape, or we run it around the block. Now, even if it's a circle, it's seeing it as a block. Or we can do the third one, which flows it around the inside shape, just a circle in this case. Or we can knock out all the text next to it, or all the text below it. So which one are we going to choose? The third one, of course, and now neatly follows the shape, and we can tell it we want it to be 3 millimeters away from that shape to give it that little bit of breathing room. And there you go. Now we can close that. Now look at this. If this circle moves around, look how it's always throwing the text and wrapping the text around it. Guys, that is called text wrapping. Right, let's preview our page. Give yourself a hand. You just did your first double page spread. We might move this down a bit because it's too far from the article. And notice how I'm selecting all elements together, dragging the box around it with the black arrow, and then moving them together. Alright. Let's save my document. And we want to add our next 2 pages. But at the moment, we only have page 2 and page 3. So how do we add more pages? Now, this is where the master pages come in. We'll do a session in the advanced chapter 2 about master pages. But for now, what you need to understand is each of these pages have an A on it, which means they link to the A master pages. And the master pages could contain something like page numbers, or, the name of the magazine at the top, or the chapter in a book. Now, if we want to add additional pages, we drag either a left or a right-hand page down. So first we want to add a left-hand page. So we drag, click, hold in, drag, drop. Then we take a right-hand page, drag, drop. And now we have a page 4 and a page 5.
For our document. Let's go back to normal mode. Great, we can see it there.
Now I want to bring this image from the first page across both pages over here. So let's make a big frame all the way to the B line across both pages now. And we go place that image again.
And
let's grab the image. Open. What is my rule when I place an image? Look at that white. And right click fitting, fit frame proportionately. Right, that makes a great background for the rest of my article. So I want to bring the rest of the copy from the article. Remember, there was more copy here. We didn't use all the copy. So we're going to click on the plus again, but this time, take the loaded cursor down here and flow the text
Under.
to that page. You will see from the previous page, we're now continuing this article on the next page. And from there, in the plus, and let's continue it over here. So that way, we can place all the text for our article in, and that is the next article. So we can actually delete all that copy. No, we copied it earlier, but let's end our article over here. We never want the following. We never want a block with text still running on, because then our sentence will end in the middle of nowhere. So always check, is all your copy used in your linked blocks? Okay. Cool. Our DPS is taking shape. That's what it would look like now. And as a last element, let's bring in 9 images over on the left hand side. And we'll use our rectangle shape and create a white block over here. And we'll fill it with white. Remember that. Full color, white. And we'll give it a slight transparency again with window effects. Make it 80% so that we can see the image still behind it. Now, remember that trick we used for these 4 images? Let me show you what else you can do.
Like that.
Remember, we used the up arrow while we were holding the mouse. You can use the up and the right arrow. So we just, with nothing selected, we kick off everything. We go File, Place. And we select 9 images. Open. And it gives me a loaded cursor stating that these 9 images selected. Now we click. I'm holding in the mouse. I'm still holding it in. I'm dragging it further than it needs to go. That's fine. And now I use my up arrow. Can you see the slight grid it's creating there? I can pull it into the corner. And I use my right arrow. Look at that. There's a grid of 9 blocks. Drop it. It drops my images in. And I can fit the images into the blocks. Awesome. How great is that? Quick placement of images. Let me do it again. So I went File, Place, selected my 9 images. It gives me the loaded cursor. I click and drag the box. I use my up arrow twice. Bring it into place. Right arrow twice. Only now do I drop the mouse. And then right click, fitting, fit frame proportionately. Okay. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is my first cover, my first article in my little publication. Right. Now, as a last little element, I want to bring in maybe a colored background to this page. Maybe this page should be a light blue. And we'll do color in the next chapter or the next session. But for now, you can't color a page in InDesign. What you actually do is you create a block or a rectangle at the back of the page. So we make that into a rectangle. So it's a block. We keep the outline. There's no outline color. And the full color, the top one, we make blue. But we use a little trick here. We don't want that dark blue. So up here is a tint box. And we can make it a tint of that color. Let's make it 10%. Not just a light blue. But we can make it 20%. And there we go. Now, of course, we need to send it to the back. So we go Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And there you've got your blue page. Notice I took it all the way to the bleed line. So remember, if there's a problem in the cutting, we want that to extend to the bleed line. Alright, so good. Now you can do typesetting. Now in our next session, we'll be looking at color. Because obviously we don't want to stick to just these boring or this boring color palette. So how do we mix colors and so on. I'll see you in the next session.